Dear teacher, hello, my name is Daniel Eduardo Aguayo Yepes, and today I'm going to present the video recording activity number 2. In this video, I'm going to talk about the parts of the journal article, which is in the APA format. So at first, I would like to present my ID, which is just right here, as you may see, and we will start. So yes, here as you may see, I have chosen the article. So when we take any article, actually, we have a lot of information from the article, right? So at first, as you can see, here is the name of the journal in which the article has been published, right? And other information which is quite important if we want to make use of this article. Actually, especially we want to make the reference by using this article, right? For example, here we have the date of publication, which is usually the year of publication. And here, as you may see, the DOI. DOI is nowadays very important because by using the DOI, you can actually have many papers, right? Because it works like a code. It is a kind of code actually in order to help you to find the right paper on the internet or in any web. Let's begin with the first element of our APA format. Number one is the title. As you may see, the title has to be very catchy. The title needs to contain everything of the research, actually. In this case, we are going to talk about some, learning issues which are going to be studied in the pandemic, obviously, because we had that period of time. So the researchers here, they wanted to see the effects on the learning outcomes by using or by changing from face-to-face education to the remote learning, for example. Then we have that between the title and between the abstract, we do have one part, which is this one, as you may see here, this part. We can find the authors, right? In this case, we have almost seven, if I'm not wrong, seven authors, which is quite important. We actually saw in some papers you can have even more authors, right? So what is important here to mention is that these people, they were the researchers, they were the creators of these papers. So that is important issue here. And another very important thing is that they are ordered in such a way that we can see the first one is the most important one, right? So in this case, this person just right here. Another thing that we see here is uh, the numbers, the numbers which are just right here, as you may see, 1, 2, and 3. So these numbers are used to indicate the affiliations. What are the affiliations? Affiliations are the places where these people work. It could be institutions, it could be government states or agencies, it could be companies, enterprises, universities, and so on, right? So as you may see, each of these person, of course, they work in these institutions as well. Well, so let's start with another part, important part actually of the APA format, which is the abstract. So what is the abstract? Abstract? Well, abstract is like the summary of the whole paper. And why it is important? Well, abstract, because of the name, as you may see, is the summary, but the summary contains everything. It contains introduction, contains a little bit of methods, of results, discussion, in conclusion as well. So in this part, as you may see, in this abstract, you may see actually some data, right? Some statistics that are going to support the results and obviously the explanation that they use in this paper. As you may see, is very clear. So we're going to have the examples in green. I have highlighted all the examples in green, right? So why researchers or how researchers actually make use of this abstract? Well, as you may know, if you are doing some research, you don't have too much time, but at the same time, you have to read a lot of articles. So it is important for you to get all the relevant information or to have a place where you can find all the information and very quickly, right? All the information condensed in one place, right? because you don't have too much time. You need to actually read more and more papers. So researchers make use of these abstract by that way, as you may see, right? So here we have a very long abstract, I would say, because you know the APA format says like 250 words, but in this case, it seems to be more than 250 words. In the keywords, well, you know, as you may know, keywords are very important. Why they are important? Because they allow you to be read by other people. What does it mean? It means that you're going to put the words that are going to indicate the domains, because when you do research, you are not only doing research of one topic, actually you are connected with more topics. So with the word, with the important words, you try to tell the word which areas you are studying actually, but in summary, right? That is the reason why we need the keywords. So just checking the keywords, you already know what domains of the whole knowledge you are working with. Yeah. So in this part, as you may see, there's some information regarding to the corresponding author and so on, which is the main one. And the corresponding author is very important, you know, because the main idea is from the author, from the corresponding author, and also the funding. Funding is very important in any research, because if there is no funding, this article wouldn't be here. Well, in this part, we're going to have the introduction. In this part, we don't have the word introduction, but we assume that in this part, because of the APA format, they are going to present the introduction. So what is the introduction? Well, introduction is necessary in every single text, because introduction is going to give you the background. It's going to give you a lot of arguments, a lot of information that is going to support your new research, your new study, right? So in this part, you're going to see a lot of things. You can see some results from previous research. You are going to find you know, some models that other people used in the past. You're going to see the reasons why we are trying to do new research actually. So you're going to find even the aims, but we're going to check here. As you may see here, the researchers talk a little bit about the COVID, I mean, the situation, and as you may see here in the red parts, they talk about the necessity to change from because of the COVID-19, to change from face-to-face to remote education. So you know, they present some authors saying that yes, they actually changed. This changing is very challenging, is very difficult, and so they just collect information and put here. They also talk about the factors that are going to be involved in this study actually. So this is a very long paper, so they do very specific search of information, and they write a lot actually. Here, as you may see, they talk a lot about the factors and so on. So in some papers you're going to see like this, and here, as you may see, we have the aim of the study. Yes. So all these things you're going to find in the introduction. So don't forget that introduction is always going to give you the reasons of the paper of your study. And so don't forget that introduction is always going to give you these details, but also introduction is going to tell you why it is important to study something. Let's go to the method. Well, the method, as you may know, is one of the most important issues, or one of the most important parts in every single article. Why it is important? Because in the method, we have procedures, protocols, steps to do the research, or even the experiments we want to put in those words. So the method, in the method, actually, we are going to find some, how can I say, some authors or some ways that we can use in order to collect the data. So this is important. Why? Because it is going to give us validation. It is going to give us reliability in the data that we collect. So in some papers, you're going to see that they review just information. It's just like a kind of a review paper. But some other papers which are more important, in this case, you may see a lot of information that is they mention the protocol, for instance, because they are taking information that has already been published, and they take these procedures in order to make their one study, right? So here in the method, we also can find about information about the sample. I mean, the sample from where we are going to take information. In this case, we're going to take from students, we're going to take from people, right? So it is important to mention that. We're going to find, as you may see here, they state explicitly the age, the gender. We're also going to find here the participants, the materials, and not only the amount of people, but also what characteristics they do have. It is important also. So in this case, in this part, they are also going to show how they are going to measure something, right? I mean, how they are going to get the data. All this information is regarding to that. In this case, they are going to use homework, assignments, tests to see whether or not the online remote is affecting in any way the success of the students, right? So as you may see, all of this is generated in the method. Now let's go to the results. Well, in the previous part, we had, the collection of the data, actually the raw data, but in this data, we do have to process. In order to process, we need to tabulate the results, right? We need to do some statistics, we need to do some work in order to have the final results. So what do I mean by having the final results? Final results is just when we see or when we have the data available to read, available to make analysis. So this is the reason why in the results we do have tables, figures, and so on, right? In this case, you can find a lot of statistics actually in this paper, which is quite complicated. They not only use the quantitative data, but also they use the qualitative. If we go to this paper, you will see that they use advanced statistics. Actually, they want to correlate things, they want to predict things, and that is the reason why here we have this information from statistics. As you may see here, you can see the p-value meaning that the degrees of significance when you are trying to see if there is any variance within the treatments or within the groups, or among the groups, I would say. As you may see here, we have tables with a lot of statistics, percentages, and so on, a lot of numbers from where we can get the information of the phenomenon that we are studying, right? So as you may see here, all of this. So in the results, we actually try to state relevant information from statistics in a very not too much, without too much explanation. Well, in this case, they use many things, but as you may see, we usually put the significant parts, the important parts in numbers, as in this part, as you may see here, to report. We report with numbers what is going on with the data. Later, we are going to use this part in order to make the discussion. Yeah, so this is the next part, the discussion, which to me is one of the most important parts of the paper, because in the discussion, we're going to use the results, but not only that, but we are going to use our thinking in order to explain what is going on with the variables that we are studying, right? So in the discussion, we are always going to find that the authors are using some information, actually from the results. They are using resources from other authors in order to contrast. They want to contrast their one result, and they try to explain and see what happened, because there is a lot of contrasting, there is a lot of analysis, and that is a good thing, when we have a paper, right? Because it makes us to realize if we are okay, if we agree, or if we disagree with other authors, especially within the topic, or the same topic, actually. Well, in conclusion, we do have some things, we do conclusions from the results, we do conclusions from the discussion, actually. So what we are trying to do here is just telling what happened. what happened with the experiment, what happened with the variables, if the hypothesis was true or not, right? That is the main point here. So as you may see here, yeah, for instance, they say that online education actually didn't have any change because the students they passed the course because some students were under the study of looking what happens if the online education is going to change their scores or their achievements or not. So in this case, they say yes. There's no problem. Was no problem because almost everyone passed the course. That is what we're going to see in conclusion. In conclusion, we're going to see some recommendations, some suggestions, and what is really, really important also is this word, as you may see here, the future studies. They always try to mention what is going to be the necessity in the future to study within this topic. I mean, so they give some recommendations. They tell, hey, we should or people should study more in this area because of this or because of that. I was forgetting something. Sometimes in the conclusions and sometimes in the discussions, you can find a little bit about limitations. But in this part, in limitations is before the conclusion, as you may see. So in this part, the limitation is also important limitations because it gives us like a kind of information about the scope. The scope, you know, no, there's no study, you know, there's no study which is going to encompass, which is going to englobe everything. I mean, every knowledge. No, I mean, it is impossible because every research, every article is going to give a little bit of knowledge. So limitations are based on the scope. The scope means it's like the light of knowledge that you can give when you do the research, right? So every research has its own limitations. Why? Maybe because the sample needed to be bigger, right? Or maybe the method, or maybe we needed to include more variables and so on. So there's always limitations about that. Okay, so coming back to the last part of the article, we do have the references here. So as you may see, references are written in the app format, which we already know that. So in the references, as you may remember, we have all the sources or all the works that we have used in our citations. Actually, so here what is important to say is that we always should look for reliable information. It means books and articles. And within articles, as you may know, every single journal has its own popularity based on academic performance. So it is important to go to the best of the best journals in order to have very, very strong references, because it is going to be important when you publish. The people who is going to check the paper is going to see what kind of papers you have as references. So I would like to thank you and see you.